Shalom, this is Mary Omni from the World Government House of King David, Holy Covenant Constitutional Enforcer. This is a Republic Notice. The title of this Republic Notice is called Black Men in the U.S. Frequency Levels is Far Too Low for Their Black Women. Black men in the U.S. frequency levels is far too low for their black women. Now, black men in the U.S. have been sold a bill of goods, and these bill of goods was that they can mingle with the public, and they can do anything they wanted with the public of all these foreign nations in America, and they can mingle with them and somehow maintain the level of frequency that they need for their women and nation to help assist in the raising of their women and nation. Their women and nation is of the constitutional holy republic. What the black man was sold was a bill of goods that he could mingle with any women and any other people in the public and be away from the republic woman, which is the black woman. The republic woman, the black American woman in the Holy Covenant Constitutional, is the free contractual woman. She's the God sovereign woman. Yeah, she took the whip for 200 to 300 years and she put up with a lot of mess, but she's supreme contractually God sovereign in the world. She holds the highest contract on the planet because everyone contracts with the mule she owns, and that's the U.S. corporate mule, okay, which don't have one amendment. So they contracted with the U.S. corporate mule that doesn't have any jurisdiction and is subservient to her supreme contract constitutionality of the republic. Now, the black man she gives birth to is the 15th Amendment. And unfortunately, he don't want to act like he understands he's born from this black woman. He want to believe he's a separate entity, many times born from his own penis. And therefore, he takes this penis that he feels as though he was born from, and he feels as though he can do anything he wants with it, with the public. That's not part of the republic. His own 15th Amendment that he inherited is the one that indicts him. His own 15th Amendment indicts him as abridging it when he feels as though he can just throw around a 500-year investment of the black woman in him for her nation, to be the muscle for her nation. He indicts himself when he don't want to be the muscle for her nation, when he feels as though he can cater to anybody else, any other woman who comes to America or have the stringy, low-frequency hair he likes. See, he likes this dead-looking hair, and a lot of black women have picked up that he likes this dead-looking hair. He likes this hair that just hangs straight down, and all you can do is like put it in a twirl or let it hang straight down. Well, the black woman started wearing wigs to imitate this dead hair he likes. Even though underneath the wig and weave, she still has this high frequency spiral of the 3, 6, and 9 hair. She has a high frequency goddess hair that is okay for her to cover because it's living hair. And you don't want your hair being displayed and people drawing energy from your hair. See, I noticed every time a black woman went on The View, Barbara Walters used to like to touch their hair and say, "Is this your hair? You know, is this what you're wearing, your hair?" And then someone would say, "Well, I paid for it," or whatever. See, she knows, Barbara Walters knows their hair is more high frequency, but she also knows they keep it covered. And they don't even understand why they keep it covered. It's really in their DNA to cover their hair, even though they're doing it with wigs. It's really in their DNA to cover their high frequency hair. Anyway, he doesn't like her frequency hair. A lot of these black men resort to calling her hair nappy-headed and stuff like that, as if his hair is not the same texture as hers. Somehow on her femaleness, it's a degradation, but on his maleness, it's quite all right. And this is the bill of goods he's been sold by the Patriots. He's been sold a bill of goods that he's better in dark skin and nappier hair than the black woman. He's been sold a bill of goods that he's better in old age, nappy hair, and dark skin than the black woman. If the black woman is aging, he's better than her in his age. If her hair is nappy, his nappy hair is better than hers. If she's dark-skinned, his dark skin is better than hers. See, this is the Patrix programming of him. Now, why did this Patrix programming need to be targeted towards him? Because it can't penetrate the black woman who gives birth to him. The reason it can't penetrate her as well is because she is the woman seed of 3:15 in Genesis, the gene Isis. He needs that black woman for his power base. So he was programmed against himself and his kind so that he, after chattel slavery was over, he would have the mental slavery and act as if he was still sold away from his black woman. So if you say 70% of black men is not with black women, they have the mental separation as they did in chattel slavery. As a matter of fact, in chattel slavery, more black men was with black women, even though they was being sold off in chattel slavery. They still managed relationships with black women when they was moved from plantation to plantation. They still connected with that power base, with that holy matra, that holy matrimony, that holy earth, that holy frequency. And see, the black man in his Patrix brainwashing don't understand part of the raping of the black woman in America was for these demonic forces to gain frequency, light, and energy from her to keep ruling him. To gain light, frequency, and energy from her to keep ruling him. And meanwhile, now, this same white demonic energy done said, here, take these other women. And you stay in your low frequency because we don't want you with the black woman because she's the woman seed and she's your power base. And she could raise your frequency where you might get a cosmic charge and realize you're God. See, you might get a cosmic charge and realize you're God, and then you won't stand on the sidelines in low frequency talking about the black man is God when he is in a position of being ruled by mutants. When the black man rules, then he can claim he's God. When he gets in a position not to be ruled by mutants, but being ruled by mutants and then saying the black man is God, and they know you're an idiot, really. See, because they know Genesis told you that you can't be without the rib, that he and she was made in God's image as one, he and she, that is no good for a man to be without his rib, and Genesis 1:11 said that I made each after his own kind. So they know once this black man in his low frequency is running with women who match his low frequency, and then he make up excuses like why 99% of black athletes like white women, why black men date white women, why black men don't like to date black women, or why black men like Asian women, why they prefer to marry a Hispanic woman. It all comes down to him being too low in frequency for the black woman because he's scared of true cosmic light, okay? He's scared of his own original cosmic light that he's from. He's scared of his own original cosmic light energy that could raise his frequency to the level of a Manu Eason that could ignite his kundalini, that could ignite that spiritual knot in the base and the root of his body. So he'll say, I like all these women because he likes that stringy hair, that low frequency, that thing that don't give him any kind of base power. So he has that programming that they was trying to do when they kept him away in chattel slavery from the black woman, because they didn't let him hardly be with her for like 300 years because that white man kept coming back to that power base. He knew the black woman was earth. He knew she was the frequency. He knew she was the frequency of the goddess. He knew that she was the frequency. And because she had the woman seed in her, she can block the full penetration of his demonic force. but he still wanted her because she was a higher frequency being. And he raped her knowing this. He didn't rape her just because it was his bestiality and it was his demonic, but he wanted orgasmic charges of frequency to rule over the black man and nations. Okay? Now see, the black man don't want to rule over nothing. He want to stand back in America at 70% and then have a nerve to talk about why we 70% apart and have a nerve to point a finger, when he's just pointing a finger that he's a Patrix low frequency, programmed, tricked up, and bitched up, slave mentality, who can be convinced to stay away from his power base. So what real man in his right mind don't want power? I guess it's 70% of them black men. So would we say that they out of their mind? Yeah, I would say they suffer from patriarchal indoctrination, subjugation. They're subjugated and patriarchal indoctrinated. They have what you call an insanity. So they're pissy. And from that insanity, you see the syndrome of them liking low energy. So they'd rather be with mutants. They'd rather be with mutants than to be with the original energy of the earth. Okay? So these black men in America have been away from the black woman for a while now in this public dwelling. And that means their frequency levels is very low. And, they stand back and they argue with their ego as if you're going to come under this low, as if the black woman is going to come under this low frequency when she's ascending from it. She's moving further and further into an ascension. And he's still stand back in a third density ego state, arguing, acting like unless she capitulates to what my ego says, I'm going to stay away from her. Meanwhile, she has his rib. So therefore, she has the spirit man inside her. Anything real of him is inside her already. What he has is his falsehood. That's why he has to deal with false women, because his falsehood requires him dealing with false women. His falsehood requires him dealing with false ribs. His falsehood is low frequency, which means he has to deal with low frequency women. His falsehood means that he has no base of power, and the world knows it and laughs at him as he's paraded around with all these women of different ethnic groups. Yeah, he got some of that frequency in being able to play a basketball, but he don't have enough sense to hold on to the supreme contract that wrought the power. So he's not a supreme contractor, he's a dumb contractor. Yeah, he has the residue of the frequency, but he don't have the brain of the frequency. So that means he's done contracting with mutants and making blood contracts with corporate doctrines, and indicting himself as an abridger of his own supremacy of covenant holyship and his own 15th Amendment, which he abridges, and he said he don't want his own wealth. He'd rather be in low frequency, even though he displays what his mother gave him. He'd rather pretend he's a low frequency than to deal with his mother's kind, because he done been programmed by the Patrix that he was somehow born out of his penis. So therefore he is on his way to bondage. He's on his way to bondage because he's making blood contracts with low frequencies, and he's not going to be accepted back in the Holy Covenant. He's Deuteronomy 23:2, 10 generations, he will be banned from the Holy Covenant. And even after them 10 generations are over, that doesn't mean he will be on a level of those of the Holy Covenant. It just means that he will be, at that point, maybe be forgiven for his sins after he done some bondage again.
This is Mary Omni from the House of King David. Shalom.